What's up, and welcome to another episode of Handles. My name is Lorenzo, and I have got to ask you guys this question. I know I'm jumping right in, but just bear with me. I gotta ask you this question. How many bad people calls have you made in your life? Like, when you're thinking about bad judgment calls in people, to the point that you've allowed them to get close to you and cause some type of irritation in your life, how many of those bad decisions have you made? I gotta tell you, I have made so many bad decisions when it comes to people or influence or just judgment overall, that I literally started comparing it to my biggest pet peeve in life. You know what that is? My biggest pet peeve in life are hangnails. I don't think I've ever told you guys this, right? But hangnails drive me nuts. One of my biggest pet peeves. And when you think about the comparisons, when you have bad company or bad influence or just someone that's close to you that's in the same space, it does the same things. You get the same symptoms. Think about it, right? Hangnails, they cause pain. They cause irritation. Sometimes it's inflamed. And it causes incredible amounts of discomfort. Same thing with the bad choice of people you let close to you. Hangnails. The worst part about hangnails is sometimes they're easy to get rid of, and sometimes they just stick to you and there's nothing you can do. Literally, even when you remove them, it seems like they grow right back even stronger. They stay with you. You can't get rid of them. I mean, those hangnails drive me nuts, and we all have those individuals in our life. But a lot of times it's our fault as to why they stick around. Give me 10 more minutes and I'll share a short story with you that I think will hit home. Everyone has a grip on life. Everybody feels like they have a handle. Afraid to share the mistakes. The stories are what connect us. They are the key. We're running out of time. I'm about 12 years old and it's the first day of school, and of course everybody knows how the first days of school goes in most cases, right? You try to figure out how to fit in, you try to find someone that you can be a part of, a group or an individual, or you're trying to meet your teachers, you're trying to just get a little bit of a rhythm going for you. Well, I get into this class and I've gone all day not finding anyone I can connect with. And I sit next to this guy, and we'll call this individual Johnny, and we immediately hit it off. Immediately hit it off. Right, we talk about the things we have in common, which is sports, video games, different television shows. We talk about things we enjoy doing. I mean, we're just enjoying our company, forgetting about the fact that we're in class, right? But we are literally getting a chance to know each other. I made the decision right then and there. Hey, this is my go-to. This is gonna be my boy. This is gonna be my friend for the rest of the year. It'll be me and Johnny. So after making this decision, I knew one of the things I had to do is I had to get him to come over to the house so we can have, a little bit of time to connect, play video games, and do all the things that we've talked about that we enjoy doing. So that means introduce him to the family. Not a problem, right? I think my parents are gonna love Johnny. So I invite him over one weekend. He comes on a Saturday. My parents get a chance to meet him, and they just observe how we spend time together. They observe the things that we do. They observe what I'm doing, how we connect. Time goes by, my father comes into the room and says, hey, Lo, we got to take Johnny home. It's time for him to get to the house. No problem. He drives Johnny home. I'm in the back seat, and on the way back, he says, hey, Lo, how'd you enjoy your time with Johnny? I said, man, I enjoyed it, man. He's great. You like him too, right? He said, yeah, he's a pretty cool guy, but are you sure this is someone that you want to connect with? Are you sure this is someone that you want to be close to you? And I said, absolutely. I feel like we do the same things and it's cool. I feel comfortable around him. He said, all right, son, I got you. Just make sure you're careful with the people you allow in your space. So the next week we're in class and we're doing our usual thing. And as class ends, the teacher says, hey, Lorenzo and Johnny, can you guys stay afterwards? I'm thinking to myself, okay, no problem, no big deal. So she comes over to our seats after the rest of the students have left, and they said, hey, look, I want to make sure you two understand that you've been doing a lot of chattering, a lot of different things back here, and it hasn't added a lot of value to the education you're starting to receive, or you're supposed to receive. So I need you guys to knock it off, all right? If you keep doing this, I'm gonna have to start communicating to administration, reaching out to your parents, so on and so forth. And we don't need to go that far. Let's just clean up the communication, let's clean up the things you guys are doing, and let's get focused on school. I look at Johnny, look back at the teacher, and we're like, okay, cool, no problem. We walk into the hallway, and Johnny immediately says, man, who cares what the teacher says? Let's just keep doing what we do. And what do I say? Sounds like a good plan, Johnny. I'm good with that. So as you can probably guess, it doesn't get much better. And little less than 2 days later, the teacher calls us to stay after class again. And this time, her message is a little bit more stern, and she's a little bit more detailed in the things that she wants us to change. So she talks about changing our seating. She's going to put one person on one side of the class, the other person on the other side, and she wants to make sure that we straighten up immediately, because at this point it's starting to affect the other students in the class. She also states that she's going to send a letter home to our parents to make sure our parents also understand and know currently how we're showing up in class. Now, damn it, that got my attention. All right. I've told you about my parents already in a few other stories. If not, check those other stories out. At least specifically around my mother. Father, not too bad. But I've told you the conversations that I've had and the interactions I've had with my mother. And I don't need her seeing this letter. So immediately I say to myself, it's time to straighten up. So I get home one day, and of course, as soon as I walk in the door, golly, my mother is sitting there and she's holding this letter from the school. And this letter is breaking down that Lorenzo is a smart kid, he understands ABCD, but he's just participating in other activities at school that are just taking a little bit of his attention. And we would like your help, Mr. or Mrs. Morgan, in kind of straightening that out and course correcting your son if possible. I'm sure you guys already heard from some of the other stories what course correcting was like in the house I grew up in. So there was some course correcting that took place. Wasn't too happy about it. And I guess we can relate that to hangnails as well, because that was a painful experience. It was irritating. My ass became inflamed, and it caused quite a bit of discomfort. So at this point, we get back to school, and I am straight and narrow. I'm in front of the class, Johnny has to be in the back, and I'm doing the best I can to stay focused. And those first few days weren't so bad. But that third day, I mean, it was just tough, right? Because Johnny was kind of trying to get my attention in the back of the classroom. I thought what he was doing was kind of funny, this, that, and the other. One thing leads to another, and we find ourselves in the damn principal's office. Now, I just had to deal with this letter that went to the house. I've had multiple conversations with my teacher, and now we're sitting in front of the principal. And the door opens, and guess who walks in? Yeah, my parents. So, as you guys can probably guess, that conversation didn't go too well between myself, the principal, and of course my parents. So on the ride home, it's very quiet. We get to the house, walk through the kitchen, and I'm just mentally preparing for any type of ass whooping I'm about to receive, but my father just kind of stops me and says, hey son, I want you to take note of something. I told you a while back that you have to be very careful with who you let in your circle. And I asked you if you were sure Johnny's someone that you would like to bring close to you. And you said that you were confident that he was. And we're seeing some behaviors that you've never shown before, son, ever since you've been around Johnny. Your vocabulary is different. Your focus is different. You're dressing a lot different. You're even walking different. A lot of it's very similar to Johnny. And that's just not who you are. So I highly suggest you take a second and make a tough decision as to who you want to be in your life. Now, if you noticed, I didn't tell you exactly what my mother said when we were in the kitchen. That's because she didn't really say much at that moment. She was more about action. So I'm sure you know how that went, and considering this is an educational video, I won't go in too much depth as to what took place between my mother and I. What I will say is I will once again compare that to hangnails, the pain, the irritation, the inflammation, and the discomfort. My parents stopped me in the kitchen the next morning before I go to school. And they said, Lorenzo, Today is the day that you have the conversation with Johnny. To let him know that because of some things that have taken place and because you've gotten off course when it comes to your education, that you can no longer spend time with him. You have to focus directly into the books, and you won't have any time to jog around and mess around at school. And at this point, I'm like, how is that conversation supposed to go? I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And, I felt uncomfortable going directly to him to say, man, I can't hang out with you anymore because, my grades are slipping and this just isn't the road that I want to go down. But that's what they wanted me to do. And they were going to follow up to make sure I did it. So needless to say, I get out of the car at school. My father drops me off. Who's waiting outside the car to walk inside with me? Johnny. My father looks at me and says, good luck, son. Good luck. He drives off. I get out the car and I slowly start walking into the school, and Johnny's walking next to me and he's talking about some things he did last night and some video games he played and, just different activities that we're kind of laughing and giggling about. And I stop and I say, you know what, Johnny, I got to be honest with you, man. I've been slipping in school. I haven't been myself lately, and I got to get back on track. And because of that, I can't hang with you the way I've been hanging with you before. I can't spend time with you. We can't come over each other's houses anymore. I can't even mess around in class with you like we used to. Lunchtime and recess, all that stuff that we normally do, I got to take a step back. I can't do that anymore. And he just sits there with a very stolid look on his face. And after a few seconds go by, he tightens up his book bag a little bit and he says, well, who cares? You're a punk anyways. And he walks off on me. Now at that moment, I realized that the friendship and the connection that I had with Johnny from my end meant a lot more to me than it did to him. And everything that I was going through in my life, not necessarily that it came directly from him or that it was his fault, but I was willing to go through those things because of the connection that I felt like I made with him. And the feeling wasn't mutual. It also made me wonder how the relationship or the connection would have lasted if I would have allowed him to stay in my life for longer periods of time. You see, it's even more difficult to identify those hangnails, if you will, as we get older, whether they're comrades in college, co-workers, neighbors. It's very difficult to identify them as adults because we get smarter as we get older. And we know that there are certain times that we can be ourselves and other times where we have to play the game. As kids, you are who you are. You do what you do. And you give the opportunity to the environment or anybody that's there to judge you for that. Not as adults. You see, the toughest thing I learned about bad choices with people or bad judgment calls when it comes to individuals I allow close is not the fact that I allow them in my life. It's the fact that I have to have the tough conversation sooner than later to make sure they know that this isn't good for me. Not that it has anything bad to do with them. This just isn't the best situation for me. And in order to do that, I have to be honest with myself. Now, honesty with yourself is something that I've always struggled with, and maybe you have as well. As adults, we want so much to surround ourselves with quality people, people that fit our future, and individuals that can add tons of value to our life. But we struggle having tough conversations with the ones we need to let go. So they stick around, just like hangnails. You see, one of the toughest conversations I've had to have with myself is asking whether or not I'm the hangnail in the connection. Am I the hangnail in the relationship? Am I the one that's causing the other person pain, irritation, discomfort? And if so, how do I address that from my end? How do I make sure I get out of the way of this individual because I'm not doing the right thing by them? I'm not adding value to their life. If anything, I'm adding the opposite. So I'll leave you with this. Whether long-term or evanescent, bad company, like hangnails, can cause pain, irritation, inflammation, and crazy amounts of discomfort in your life. But the mistake of letting someone in, that's forgivable. The foolishness of keeping them around, that's inexcusable. I hope today's story added a lot of value to you. If so, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell so you're alerted anytime new material comes out. You want more handles? You can follow me on social media, or you can go directly to my website at the bottom of this page. Thanks again for your time and support. I'll catch you guys next time, right here on Handles.